I mean, actually, like a Louisville Slugger is actually even better. I got this in Foreign Trading, which is this Japanese place. It looked cool, and then I did this demo on Jimmy Kimmel, and like I asked them to get bats because I thought it looked cool, and actually it worked a hell of a lot better. So it wasn't even just really a gimmick, and it's just been beating up my back because it's been beating the bone. But what I'm going to do is just imagine if does anybody have any questions yet? All right, cool. So I'm really just gonna, and plus I really want to tell you also, like I would start off with 4-bone rib roast. I mean, we were a little bit too cautious about this right now. So I mean, I take basically 8 inches and I make it into 2.5 inches. I have a butcher shop in London. And my guys were making like chicken veal pie art and stuff, and I have a lot of meat. You know, like I have maybe 10 tons of meat hanging in my restaurant and butcher shop in London, and I have double that in Vegas. And I just have it around. I'm always kind of like figuring out what I can do with it. And so there I am. You know, I'm always kind of messing things up. I just start wailing on this thing, you know? And if that piece wasn't cut, okay, if it didn't look so nice, you know, what I typically do is I'll cut the bones down to the eyes, and then I'll just like tear it a bit. So then this way, you know, the ribeye to me is like one of the greatest cuts because you kind of get four different muscles. You get the big eye, you get the deco, you got a small eye there, and then you get to eat the bone. So it's really amazing. But what I'm doing now, I'm like tearing the surface. And then you take a look at it. I'm going to pass this around. You know, you can just trim off a little bit of the fat. Now, this is, you can pass that around. As I'm beating it with this bat, it kind of just grabs the fat and it kind of fluffs out the meat, okay? And this is kind of, I don't know where exactly this came from, maybe because I was getting loopy, but, you know, like my grandmother, you know, our grandmothers and grandparents, I don't know what yours did, but, I mean, they would break every rule, but their food was killer, okay? And she would go in to cook a brisket, put it into the pan, not enough oil, put it in, stick a big fork in it, tear it, rip it, and flip it over. But darn, that made the best gravy. And it kind of made sense to me because all these like little fissures, and you can see how like it's kind of like ripped a little bit on the top, right? So as I hit it, I smash it down, tenderize it. As the bat pulls out off, because it sticks, it rips a little bit, I'm increasing the surface area, which gives me the opportunity to create more of this Maillard reaction, okay? Now, I'll do this because I'm going to start cooking. Oh, it's one phone, yes. You don't wouldn't have to have a whole roast around, would you? If you had, I mean, I could really, like, if you give me like a 4 or 5 hour roast, I mean, I'll like do the technique, otherwise you're going to use your imagination, but let's just talk about marbling a meat. First of all, when you're looking at meat, okay, I can tell you right now that this meat is going to be pretty tender, okay? And why? I mean, it's almost really obvious, okay? I'm going to feel it, and it's squishy. That's the first thing. Like if you feel raw meat, and it feels kind of squishy, you know, you're there. Unless it's like squishy because it was frozen, and then you'll go from rare to medium well rather quickly because all the little membranes are. Thank you. Did everybody get to see? Okay. Because all the little membranes, like the ice, is just like these knives, you know, goes through it. That's what the liquid just like races through it. So it goes from rare to medium well. That's why it's very tough with frozen meat, particularly meat that's not frozen very well. It will I say it pisses a lot. You know, there's like a lot of liquid comes out. People call this blood. It's not really blood. It's a different type of liquid that comes out when you're wet aging in the bag. Am I going through with time? Like what happened? Okay. So it's just not good, but it's tolerated if it's frozen well. So I mean, I worked with a company and a ranch out in Montana, but if I worked with them, I was insistent upon them freezing it a certain way if we must, because I felt, you know, it's always like in cooking, it's always a give and take. Sometimes you can't afford the best, but what you want to do is you want to maximize what you got. This particular guy, this billionaire, had this 88,000 acre ranch, and he did this grass rotation where the cattle are very interesting. They'll eat only the tips of the grass are the most nutritious, and then it goes down. Okay? So he would like cordon them off with this like little buzz cord, and had a lot of space, all black Angus, and they would eat and they'd go down an inch, and after they finished an inch, they'd go down another inch. And the cowboys were less cowboys. They looked a little frustrated because they were really more like grass farmers. And normally cowboys are kind of pushing cattle. These were like a little bit more controlled. And you got to watch them that they don't go down too far, because if they go down too far, they'll rip up the roots, and then you have to reseed and do all these things. So right when they get down to a certain level, they open up the cord and they let them into the next quadrant. And this really great rotation system. I really believed in it, and I still do. And then when it came to finishing, he would speed it up. So first they'd eat the only inch, and then you keep rotating, and it was very interesting. But I'm a believer in grain-fed, and I think that this whole debate where you talk about grain versus grass is a bunch of nonsense. It's really about nutrition and animal husbandry and genetics, and we're losing that. I travel all over the place, and I've been spending a lot of time in Ireland. And Ireland, I picked from 3 abattoirs. For my London restaurant, I picked 80 pieces, 80 sides of beef from 8,000 sides of beef to get my spec. Okay? Mostly all of the Irish farmers are not full-time farmers. They're all part-time. They just happen to be sitting on probably, we think of Ireland, we think about the clover and green grass. They happen to be sitting on this gold mine, this breadbasket. They go to this area called Clonmel in Tipperary, and they just raise cattle. They're out and they're grazing about, and they call them grass-fed, and they are, but they're not, because when winter comes, they'll supplement with barley that they grow. Okay? So we've gotten into this funny conversation where we start talking about grain versus grass, and I think the story is a lot more than that, because I go to these abattoirs, and you might find it peculiar, but I'm drawn to it. I like to look inside the animals. I like to look at the health of their liver, and I like to see these things. And I've seen quite a few grass-fed animals that we've gone with really unhealthy animals. Okay, if you look at their liver, and I've been fortunate enough to learn from some pretty incredible people. I'm more concerned with nutrition. Now, that's not to take the extreme of saying real intensive. I don't know how into that I am, but I think that there's a happy medium. There's a happy balance. Thank you. That's great. What's that? It's frozen. You know what? I can make it. That's fine. Yeah, I'll make it with this, and I'll just be descriptive. Okay, thank you. I want to at least raise that subject, because, it's so easy for us to be fed these stories, and then all of a sudden, you start repeating them. And then all of a sudden, you might read a book that might have a really strong bias and might have some other agenda going on. What I at least want you to do, not only with this topic, but in your whole cooking career, is to really question the hell out of things, and question brands, and really see for yourself. You have a question?
Yes, I do. I want to know what you feel is the proper way of freezing meat.
The proper way?
You said